Nancy Mielich, and I am here every morning where the seminars are. We have these seminars every morning of the season except Mondays. We are here on Sundays. Some audience members don't think we're here on Sundays, but we are here on Sundays. And obviously today, Saturday, the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July. I thought it was very...
That's right, it is, isn't it?
Yes, 4th of July. Cannons going off and parades and, yes, all of that. And
happy birthday
to the United States of America. Yeah, very good. I neglected last hour to mention my very capable assistant, Bailey Smith, who makes all of this happen.
Yay.
Bailey Smith. She'll be a sophomore at Southern Utah University in the fall. She comes to us from Pullman, Washington, and it's just a delight to have her efficiency here every morning and her gregariousness. As many of you know who've been coming here for a while, preview week and preview week and opening week, we have the directors with us, and we are live streaming these conversations that we have so that if you want to hear your own voice but didn't hear it today, you can download it on our web when you go to bard.org. All of these that have been live streamed all last week and this week are available forever. I think forever. So this morning, Randall Jones productions we discuss at 10 a.m. The Adams Theater productions we discuss at 9 a.m. And also today, since it's Saturday, there will be an actors seminar at 11 a.m. here in this very spot. So I hope you will stick around for that. But to the moment, the gentleman sitting next to me is David Ivers. Yes.
Thank you.
David Ivers is one of two artistic directors here at the festival. He has been with us in that position for 5 years. 5 years. Prior to that, he was a member of the Denver Center Theater Company ensemble, but had directed here, acted here numerous times. Last year, you saw his directorial artistry in our production of Twelfth Night. He also, given that we just finished a discussion about the history cycle, David played Richard II in a production 2 years ago in the Randall Theater. But this season, he is playing Salieri in our production of Amadeus and directing Charley's Aunt by Brandon Thomas. David is a comedic actor as well as a dramatic actor. And if you have not seen Amadeus, I urge you to come back, stay next week, come whenever you can the rest of the season to see an extraordinary performance that this man is giving in Amadeus.
Thank you. Thanks, Nancy.
Yes. Okay, but we're going to switch a little bit from the demonic personality of Salieri and hop into...
It's a very bipolar season for me right now.
And we're going to hop into Charley's Aunt by Brandon Thomas, which this man played Jack Chesney when the festival presented this show in 1997 with Brian Vaughn as Charley's Aunt, and Bill Black did the costumes for that show as well. So, David, I know I've asked you this before, but I think it's worth repeating to this audience that was not here a couple of days ago. Why did you decide to direct Charley's Aunt the same season you are playing Salieri?
That is a great question. Hindsight is 20/20, right? Well, it's funny. I had signed on to direct Charley's Aunt before I knew that I was going to do Salieri, which is odd. I've told this story before in these seminars that I actually wasn't keen on us doing Charley's Aunt right away. Brian brought it to the table. We bring plays to the table and have a kind of, what did you read tonight? Starting in about, we're always reading plays, but we start having that conversation about, we'll start having the conversation about 2017, soon. We're about to announce 2016. It's late only because of, you all know what's going on across the street. And so Brian brought this title back, and I hemmed and hawed, and it made it into the pile of about 20 of which we pick 8, as you know. And I said, I don't know, it feels a little, we did it. There's great memories connected to us doing it that I have. I know he has and other people have. Do we really, is it necessary to repeat this play? We repeat our Shakespeare plays perforce. And so I kind of shoved it to the side and read some other plays and thought about some other plays. And I kept coming back to titles like, I want to do The Rainmaker at some point. That's a title I don't know if you know that play, which I love. And that's a play that there's just been other things. And so Brian and Scott Phillips, who weighs in, and Fred, you can't imagine that Fred weighs in. But really it rests with Brian and I, these decisions for what we're doing in the season now. And so I finally picked it up one night and I read it again. And I actually picked up the only copy that I had, which was my copy from 1997, highlighted all of Jack's lines. And I found it almost 20 years later so bright and optimistic in a way that I had not remembered it, because I'm old now and I have kids. And when I was doing it, I was the thing, I was in my 20s or almost late 20s. And so mid 20s. And so I all of a sudden I was charmed by it in a way that I hadn't thought. And I came back and I said, well, maybe, and then we kept looking at it and we were really concerned about making sure that there was a family friendly farce in there that really could grab a hold of potential families again, and I was so shocked at what a well-made play it is and how it's not rude, and it's brilliantly constructed. And I started to get excited about it again. And then I really didn't want to direct it, and Scott and Brian kind of kept nudging and go, you should, you were excited when you came back and talked about how much you loved it again. And so finally I said, okay. And then Salieri came later, which was a conversation with Jim Sullivan, who's directing it, and between Brian and Scott about what it would mean for someone like me to play that role in, frankly, I say this about a lot of plays, but it's okay to have a lot of favorite plays. It is one of my favorite plays. I am hugely driven by music in my life, classical all the way to any genre of music. You can see it in the plays I direct. But so I have a young son who's intensely interested in math and music and is very gifted. And so I just kept coming back to the notion of I could do both if you want me to do both. And the request was, yes, we do. And I said, all right, is everyone okay that I won't be in the office for 7 weeks? Because no, they had to be okay with it because there's no other way. And they were, and the festival and through Scott Phillips' leadership said, this is the priority, to build these 2 plays for our audiences. That's it. Don't worry about a single thing else. Although he has said to me, I can't wait for you to get back to the office on Monday. Just one day.
Okay, so comments or questions for David about Charley's Aunt or the production? How many of you have seen it here? Okay, anyone in the audience who has not seen it yet? But you will. Yes, I know these folks will.
It's a very tricky plot. I'm not sure. Don't give anything away.
No. Okay, comments? Yes, to the back behind you. Thanks.
It's very quick. How did you come up with Michael Dougherty?
How'd I come up with him?
Yeah.
I sprinkled pixie dust. Michael Dougherty was recommended. That is the key to that show in some ways, finding that guy. I had someone in mind. I had a couple people in mind who, for a variety of reasons, weren't available, and I was in a bit of a pickle because you typically, and most directors will tell you this, you kind of build shows like this around someone. And so I didn't really want to cast anything until I'd cast that part, although I did cast Betsy McGavro as Kitty right away because I love her. I go way back with John Preston, who played Sir Francis. He's one of my dearest friends and a brilliant actor. We were on tour together years ago, getting in lots of trouble. And John Pribble I've known since I was 19, who plays Spedigue. And so here I was with this hole, thinking, what am I going to do? And Barry Funderburg, our sound designer, I just put out a query to people that I've worked with, a team, that have worked across the country. And I said, hey, if anyone has any thoughts on this, let me know. And Barry Funderburg said, you should look at this kid, Michael Dougherty. I don't know, but he's great. And I said, okay, what the heck? So I called him and I asked him if he'd put some stuff together for me on tape, because he was in the Midwest, or in Philadelphia, actually, sorry, on the East Coast. And so he did, and we talked, and I am, for better or for worse, one of these people that, I will take risks, and I care about gut instinct. And I just kind of knew. And he knows this because I tell him now. So I hired him. And Brian was totally supportive, as we are with each other, with our productions and the people that he needs in lead roles or whatever, but there was a little bit of, are you sure? You've never seen this kid, and you've never, and I was sure. And I've told him that he's my next project. I just love the kid. I love him so much. He has a huge heart. Yeah. And I will say this because I've been there, as you know, but that heart doesn't get to beat without the people around him too. I'm feeling that directly in Amadeus. It's like my presence in that play is only exalted by the people around me. And Michael, the difference is Michael knows that. He's a generous young man and a generous actor, and so is everyone else around him on stage. And that's why his presence is lifted, I think, So glad that you responded to him. There he is. Yeah. So subtle.
You transformed yourself into Salieri in that play, and that had to be terribly emotionally draining. How do you get out of that mode?
Vodka.
Good answer.
I'm kidding. That would have been my answer about 15 years ago. But now with my children, I will say this. It's the most challenging thing I've ever done in my career as an actor and a theater maker. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful that people are responding to it, because, I'm aware every day when people have over 15, 20 years said, you're so funny, and people, you all know this, you can choose to reinvent yourself or you can choose not to. And for me, I love this play. I love Jim Sullivan. I love this theater. And I just felt like if I'm going to do it, man, I have got to go to places I have never been before. But also, this is the thing. The transformation is allowed now because of the gifts my life has given me. My incredible wife and my 2 children from whom I draw inspiration about everything. And without the context of having been now being a father, I would not be able, even though it may not make sense to you in terms of how Salieri works in the world, I would not be able to approach that role. I would not be able to give what I think and hope I'm giving to it now without that context. And the way I get out of it is the same way I get out of it. I shower, I go home, and I see the little wife, and we're on the floor playing with trucks, and I'm fine, or in Jack's case, we're, composing at the piano, frankly, who wrote me a composition. My 6-year-old learned Salieri's March, and he's, it is exhausting, I will say. I mean, I cannot imagine, and there's plenty of theaters that do this 8 times a week where that actor's doing it twice. I mean, at 5 o'clock when it comes down, the thought of going back at 7 to warm up again and prepare to do that mountain again is like, never, But thank you. I'm glad it's been resonant for you. It's certainly rewarding and very humbling for me to do.
What about the exhaustion that comes from being a director, a different kind, I'm sure?
Yeah. The directing part is not, what I feel as a director is I feel this as an actor, but I feel this much more as a director. It's like, I don't want to let these 10 people down by wasting their time, by not having a plan, by not knowing what we're doing at a given rehearsal, by not being prepared to have a grab bag of, okay, that didn't work. What about this? What about this? So that occupies a different kind of engine. And the two together are really a great recipe for prescription. But the reality is that they offset each other. The entirely different rehearsal room. So as a director in Charlie's On, mostly I'm trying to create a room where freedom exists inside of what I call a picture frame. We don't want the production to get too far outside of where it's set, what it's supposed to be, the social, sort of graces of the time. But I want them to be having a blast in the room, because once they're in their head, instinct, there's inertia. Once you become self-aware, this from your own work. Once you become self-aware of something that you're doing, instinct stops, and that's so death to the creative process, And so I like to have a lot of fun in rehearsal when I'm directing, and I have a group that also lets have a lot of fun. And frankly, I'm surprised we got it on its feet, because we were laughing so much at stuff that had nothing to do with the play. We tried a ton of stuff, but they're crazy making in different ways, because fundamentally the same ingredient exists in both, which is deep, abiding care about the fact that I get to do and we get to do what we love to do, and that with pride we try. Success or failure productions of mine you'd loved or hate, they've all had the same ingredient, which is that pride and care and wanting desperately for you to have an experience that illuminates your present condition somehow.
Could you tell us one thing that you tried that you decided didn't work, such as maybe you had a bicycle built for two that went across the stage?
We didn't, although we talked about it. We did actually have Charley on the handlebars at one point with Jack when they left, but we couldn't mechanically. We didn't. Frankly, that was just about science. We didn't have enough runway to get enough momentum for that to work. We also, I cut something yesterday at 10 a.m. before the opening. There was just you remember the section where the girls come in, the first entrance of the ladies. She has the football that he threw out in the garden, and then they find out Charlie's aunt's not here, and they have that series of goodbye, 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 and Charlie's like, that section was laborious before yesterday. It may have felt laborious yesterday, but it was even more laborious before I cut several beats out of it. Actually, it was too stretched out rhythmically for that event, because the line preceding the line directly following their exit after goodbye is, you see that off like a shot when they found out your aunt wasn't here. And I said, guys, it doesn't really feel like they're off like a shot. It feels like you're yeah. So we fixed that. Lots of stuff with the sports equipment, figuring out the cleaning up of the flat, that took a while, and we've changed it, and
Okay. This is about Amadeus. You touched on Charlie's Aunt being a family show, and when we saw Amadeus, the language in there, I thought, I wonder if there are any little kids in here watching this. And usually the Shakespeare Festival is very careful about the lines, their words and everything.
Yeah.
And was there any discussion about the script in Amadeus?
Yeah, of course there was discussion, and this is it's a tricky topic. It's a tricky topic because I don't think, and it may be a difference in the way we're moving. It's hard to think about doing our art and our work and parenting at the same time. And see, I parent differently than you do. I'm sure of it. And you parent differently than I do. And I have no judgment on the way other people parent. I embrace and love the fact that we parent. But see, the context for me in my world is my kids are going to come see all of these plays, and I'm going to have a conversation with them about the why. And if I start, I'm not going to be true to myself as an artist, and I'm not going to protect what you love at the Utah Shakespeare Festival if I can't also speak from my heart and my head at the same time. It makes me emotional because I care deeply about what we do, but I'm not in a position to parent for you, and I won't censor the work that we have to illuminate for the human condition.
Good.
I just won't do it. I will help you. I will have these conversations with you. I will help illuminate the why it's important, And I will not ever condemn your religious beliefs or condemn the context by which you need to experience the world. I will never do that. So don't ask the arts to do it for you.
And if you were here for any of J.R. Sullivan's, the director, when the question came up about Mozart, I mean, it's one of the things, as David was saying, that how plays can illuminate the complexities of people. And Mozart, yes, he had this genius. He wrote extraordinary music and an incredible output. But there was this other side of him, too, that was very childlike, given the kind of life he had as a child. And the letters that he left that we still have indicate who he was, multiple sides of him. And to put on a play that Peter Schaffer wrote about his version of that life, Salieri's, and to not show the complexities of the character of Mozart is doing a disservice to the character of Mozart, which is what David is saying.
Yeah. I mean, we could have chosen, and we thought about it, to not do this play, you know, but what a crime to me to not, it's so in keeping with our mission, you know.
And, you know, I've also found over my 12 years of being here and having conversation with all of you that quite often it's not the children that have a difficult time with the plays. It's the parents sitting next to the children who are concerned about the questions their children or their grandchildren might ask them. The children do fine with it for the most part. So it's our uncomfortableness with that. But thank you for the question. Yeah. Yes, where's the microphone? Okay, and then we'll go back.
Getting back to Charley's out.
Yes, thank you.
Well,
It's a lot more fun to talk about. I don't want to come cry at these things all morning.
well, I love your answer, but you're talking about having work with a bunch of cut-ups. There was there was one on stage that went off very well.
The mayonnaise scene?
Yes, the mayonnaise thing.
I don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
I'll ask you one thing about the mayonnaise scene. Does the quantity of mayonnaise change from production to production?
I don't know. The thing that comes across my mind every time I see the mayonnaise scene is simply that it doesn't suggest in the script that he eats it. It's just offered. And one day I said to Michael Dougherty, I said, maybe this is the great thing about the character. Like, there's not the mask doesn't really do anything. It's just Fanny Babs. You know, I said, what if Fanny was just hungry, really, you know? And just on instinct, the boy comes out and, you know, and he was like, oh yeah, I love it. Of course, he sold it better than I could, that I could. And I said, you know, Michael, we can put like whipped cream in there. We can put, you know, it can be like pudding. It doesn't have to be. He's like, no, I'm good with mayonnaise. I was like, yeah, you must still be in your 20s. I don't like mayonnaise anyway, but it was like, he was like, no, mayonnaise is fine. He's like, let's just make sure it doesn't get too warm. But I mean, the thing is it is so genuinely funny that it just, I mean, you know, I know. And once one of them goes, you know, we're sunk. But I will say, you know, as a director, I straddle the line with that stuff because I think it's important that there's that kind of freedom, and, you know, the audience wants that stuff. So.
Okay, now from the ridiculous to the sublime. Sorry. I was so fascinated by your direction of Charley's Aunt. I've seen this play before, but I noticed at the very beginning, everybody was standing side by side and talking to each other. And I went, wow, that's so different than how we do it today mostly. And I thought, this is harking back to, oh, I get it, the period that it's describing.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's delivered. You know what I mean? This dialogue is delivered. It's 1893. We want to embrace the theatricality. there's a direct address. Brassett talks to the audience. Jack's first monologue is to the audience. He says, I've got a great idea. There are so many asides in the play, right? So if you don't establish the convention, if all of a sudden you have this play with backs to the audience and it's very naturalistic, lose the comedy completely. You know, I'm not suggesting everything has to be shoved out front, although in general, on large stages, I prefer to move in that direction. Although if you saw my 12 Angry Men, you know that entire thing was about naturalistic, completely you peering into a room, not being aware that they're aware of an audience. This entirely different. And thank you for noticing, because totally deliberate, totally important. And I said to the cast a lot, this is a play where you serve it up. You absolutely serve it up on a platter. You're aware that there's witnesses, you know, and that there's a conspiracy between you, and that's the heart of great comedy, is and there's a sort of conspiracy between the audience and the actors, you know, or certain characters. Right.
Sometimes you drop the platter.
Yep, sometimes you drop the platter. Literally.
So we were sitting just down the aisle or row from you, and I was really enjoying would look over and see how you're reacting to your own play. But the thing that I just loved is that Stephanie laughs with her whole body. Anytime someone's funny, she's just like, oh.
My wife.
That's David's wife.
Yeah, my wife, this is what is great about opening, although my children hate it, but is that, you know, Steph and I get all this play. We get to go to these plays together. So I go to all the openings, and she comes, and we put the kids over in the festival daycare, and you know, usually I hate openings for plays I direct and plays that I'm acting in. And Steph really wanted to come to Amadeus opening, and obviously Charley's on. And I came home from Amadeus because she went to pick up the kids, and she was just, which was lovely, just broke down. And then we sat next to each other, and Charley's on, and she was like pulling out the Kleenex, and I thought, stop. You know, I was like, what? It's not that funny, you know. And I think she experienced it, because we hadn't talked about it at all. You know, we talked a ton about Amadeus, and mostly Amadeus was like, I gotta go learn these lines, you know. And it was so neat to see her, who also works so incredibly hard, like have that kind of release, and like sit next to her while she just ate it up, you know. And we share a very similar sophomoric sense of humor. You know, we just love stupid things. And there's so many just wonderfully entertaining, plain, stupid things about Charley's Aunt that, of course, are genius, because you have to present them in a way that appear to make them silly, you know.
Okay, so the moment when Charley's aunt gets the bouquet of flowers, that is when I fell out of the chair the first time. So how did that come about? Is that an ensemble? Was it you? Was it Michael?
It's the play. Stick them in your dress. You know, that's the, you know, and we just went right for, and I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. And this is a sign of a good rehearsal process. One, I can't remember if it's in the script or not. It very well could be. And I can't remember whose idea it was. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, the sign of a great collaboration is to not know, is to not remember, oh yeah, that was mine, that was yours, that was Michael's, oh David's, like, you know, the point is that the whole cake tastes good, and there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and we got it, you know, to where it is. So.
That question came a little bit from our discussion previously about Brandon Thomas, who wrote the play, and then he was an actor, and then there were various bits, and there was a fight about getting credit for it. So that's. Yeah. There was a big. I should look this up. Actually, I should get you some information. I have it in my research just so we have the names. But there was a property fight between Brandon Thomas, who wrote this, and the actor who played Fanny Babs, and Brandon Thomas played Fanny Babs, and there was all these bits created that made it into the script, and then there was this royalty battle later when it got so successful with that actor about, wait a second, don't you owe me some cash for that? For that bit. And it went on for quite some time. And it's pretty interesting that this play, I'm going to use it in our solicitation, Brian and I, when we start a movement toward developing new work, which is
probably coming in the next couple of years with the theater that will start looking at world premieres, which I think is a good thing for us. Still firmly rooted in our mission, There's a lot of funding for that in our country right now, but Brandon Thomas's Charlie's Aunt was commissioned by a local theater club, and so you just never know what's gonna come out of these kinds of things. It's a pretty amazing thing that's a 125-year-old farce that works like. I mean, I said to staff last night, Charlie's Aunt from Brazil, where the nuts come from. It's like it's like handing children ice cream. It just works forever. It's so ridiculous, I every time. I remember when I've done it. I mean, I played Fanny Babs as well as I played Jack. I played Fanny Babs before I did the production here in '97, and I remember the same thing, thinking, "Are you all crazy?" It's funny, but
Hi, David.
Hey, Jerry. That's my accountant, Jerry Selba.
Who is your accountant?
Right there, Jerry Selba.
Oh, I thought he said that Charlie's aunt was his accountant.
No,
I'm glad Jerry's my accountant, actually.
well, thank you. I wanted you to talk a little bit about the sets. I thought the set design was fabulous. But I know you've had some logistic problems between scenes, getting everything changed over. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Good question. Thanks, Jerry. Yeah, so yesterday, Act 2 to Act 3 was a little long, not because of the set. There was a wardrobe malfunction backstage, actually. But we had a wardrobe problem. But in our first 2 previews, our set changes were 32 minutes and 26 minutes and 35 minutes because we had an engineering problem with the set. And so very quickly, our new production manager, Becky Merrill, who's been brilliant and terrific, and our teams, between the second preview and opening, built an entire new wall unit. Because it used to be that same one that spun twice. So it was Jack's apartment, then the garden, then Spedigue's. And they peeled the blue walls off and put the purple ones on, and then just turned around those side units, which are purple on the other side. The magic of theater. And we had some engineering problems with those walls. They were too heavy, getting them off, and it just took too long. And we just didn't have the crew power to do it. So basically, yesterday was our first time where our intermissions were where they should be. Had we not had a small wardrobe malfunction, we would have been at 15 and 15. We were at 15 and 20, 19. But thank you for the comment. The sets I'm very happy with. Particularly happy about the sets is that in a moment of sheer cynicism and challenge of myself, I wanted to see if we could do a rep set here for Charlie's Aunt, sort of within or below budget, and utilize our wonderful stock of period furniture and to minimize the amount of stuff we build, because we have South Pacific and Amadeus. And I thought, Charlie's Aunt, we could do this. We have so much beautiful stuff in stock that could be reupholstered. And so a lot of what you're seeing is actual real period furniture that's been donated by families. Ben Holman, our props master, who's brilliant, picked up a truck full of stuff from a family, I believe, in Arizona that donated all this period furniture. And we used much of it in the show, and he reupholstered it. So it's a low-tech set that I think works very effectively and simply for the production. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I didn't think that garden set was going to look as beautiful as it does, but it works great, and it's efficient, and now we've got it pulled into the amount of time because of the rebuilt wall. So basically, Spedigue's purple wall is its own wagon, we call it now. It's been made to look exactly like the turnaround of the other one, so we don't have to turn it around again.
And your scenic designer is new this
Jack
season?
McGaw out of Evanston, Chicago area. Really brilliant, great guy. And
lighting designer
Kirk Bookman, who I'm just sold on, is a great guy. He'll be with us in the fall. He's from New York and has become a friend and a colleague, and I'm very, very proud that he's with us, and I'm hoping he'll return as well.
So you have new scenic designer, new lighting designer, and a lot of new actors here this season.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's good.
Right here. Oh, there's a little costuming thing that in Charlie's Aunt that I thought was remarkable. We went to the costume discussion earlier on, and they said they revitalized the Charlie's Aunt costume, and it had some white loops around on the arms, and they thought, well, that doesn't work, so they made them black, and then they found out where the problem was because the actor couldn't make the quick change. I didn't expect to see the quick change on the set, though. It was beautifully
Oh,
done.
yeah. Yeah, so what happened was we had this Charlie's Aunt dress to be revivaled, and Bill Black couldn't figure out why inside the dress, in the gusset, there was these white reinforcements. So he said, "That's people are going to see that when the dress comes off. We'll make them black." And then we got to the change where he gets to throw his arms into the dress, which happens on stage. And Bill came in to watch it, and he went, "That's why they're white. It's a landing target, you know." So he can see when he's running at it where they're supposed to go.
And that's funny because Bill had designed it
Yes.
previously.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Isn't
it's
that
funny.
hilarious?
Yes.
There's
Oh,
one
and
back
here,
here when
and
we're done. We'll make our way over to you.
If we do that, it gets really confusing because then this person will start talking and then that person will start talking. And it's a good suggestion. And we have tried it, but it's a bit of a challenge to manage the audience.
Okay, ready? Okay. David, I mentioned this to you yesterday at the Las Vegas Shakespeare Festival Gala. I bid and won on an auction package that included a walk-on role in Charlie's Aunt. Now,
Yeah. That's going to cost you a lot more money. I'm imagining that during the tea serving in Act 2, you'll be a guest that gets a nice little cup of tea in there. Yeah, I don't think it'll be. We'll see. We may have to have a seminar here dedicated entirely to your performance, but we'll. Okay, good. Good.
Thank you. I look forward
I
to
can't wait to get into rehearsal with this one. Yeah. She's mugging already.
Do you get to decide the gown you're going to wear, or maybe you'll be one of the men? I don't know.
Yes, we're going to get you in for a costume fitting, and you'll be in for that tea through the end of that act, probably. So a few minutes. It'll be fun. I don't know yet. But when we do, we'll make an announcement. I think that mic needs maybe a.
Is it turned
Is
on?
it turned
Push
off?
the button. Okay. It's okay.
Talk and I'll repeat.
Because I know it's written in 3-act form, but did you ever have a moment when you thought, I think I'll put the act break somewhere else, and tried to think about that? Or
Never a moment. The only reason is because you have to change locations, you know. The location change has to happen, and I've made some mistakes. Listen, in my career as an actor and a director, but one thing about this one is I know not to muck with it. You know, it's well made, you know, and knowing when to honor the form, and I don't always, but on this one I felt pretty good instinct of let's just try to do what he wrote to the best of our ability in the right period. Really bad idea to change period because the entire construction rests on the chaperone, you know, which is completely gone in our world, as are, like, you know, first dates that just include talking. But you know, so yeah.
um, which kind of leads into my question about you and directing. A couple questions is, was this an insertion of you or was it in the play? Number one, the bicycle running across, was that something added? And also the ending where everyone's singing Bicycle Built for Two.
Daisy, Daisy. That's because I'm a hopeless romantic, which you probably don't know. You might know if you really look at some of the plays I've directed, but the bicycle was mine. And I guess you say that Daisy was my idea. I love the idea that there's like a family singing around a piano at the end of the play, because essentially that's what they are, you know. That there's even the possibility that Brassett may now travel with this graduated family. You know what I mean? I mean, Kitty's got a lot of money. As a matter of fact, everybody by the end of the play has a significant amount of money. You know, so the bicycle idea simply started as I wanted to see a bicycle. First, I had this notion of I just wanted to see a bicycle on the college grounds. I just wanted to see it through the window, just as part of a set idea. And then that transformed my head to like, actually, it's pretty funny to think about a guy in a dress driving a bicycle across the stage. So that's all I thought we were going to do, was actually just have the bicycle and have Michael have a chance to make a cross in it. And then you get into rehearsal and it's like, oh, there could be a very nice coda about how this works. Maybe Charlie arrives on the bike to his friend's rooms, which he does, and then it moves into Act 2, and then we found our way finally. In one moment in rehearsal, I thought, got it, Spedigue on his way out on the bicycle during the song, you know, just to wrap that little story up. So there's also something for me whimsical at this time period about a bicycle. There's just something lyrical and breezy and, you know, totally identifiable and iconic. And that's important to me visually as a director. And then the song was just about, we've recognized the audience through the entire play. We've talked to the audience, you've been in the conspiracy. And so I just had this feeling about, one, as I said, I'm drawn to heart, you know. And so I thought, well, how do we invite them in to be part of the family? And that just sort of what came to me. And then Barry and I worked on finding the right song that would do that we felt most of our audience would know, you know, or have some idea about in terms of melody. And I hope it worked for you.
There are also a lot of bicycles at Oxford.
There are
a lot of bicycles.
Well, on most campuses, yeah.
Two questions, and I'm not sure that I expect a totally honest answer from the second one, but maybe you can't give me an honest answer. But the first question is, do you, being the director of one show and starring in another one, do you ever become concerned about the wrong show at the wrong time? I mean, could you ever be on stage as Salieri and suddenly your mind starts drifting to, you know, what's happening in Charley's Aunt?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, I think I understand where the question is coming from, but I all I would say is, go to your own life, go to your own work. I mean, I actually use this not just because Jerry's here all the time about accounting. I don't know how Jerry knows 1021B versus XC9L42. That's why I pay him. But he knows, and I'm sure he doesn't get them mixed up because it's part of his job not to. I mean, it is pretty clear when I go in to Amadeus at noon to warm up and I put my makeup on and put that costume on, that there's no way Charley's Aunt sneaking into my brain, you know. I'm looking in a mirror going, you know, and the preparation is zen-like and athletic and focus. It's like $1 million, you know, putt. Get it lined up.
Okay.
You know, you can see it. I mean, you can't do those you can't do what these actors do at this festival, small role, large, whatever, without being right there in the crosshairs. No way. So that's my severe long answer. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. With all the construction going on, How soon will we see a year-round Shakespeare festival?
I can be completely honest and transparent. I have no idea. I think that here is when you will see it, and I hope not before. When the demand tells us it must be. I mean, frankly, we have too much inventory right now as it is. You know, we're actually trying to reduce some of the amounts of available space to get all the people we currently serve into, you know, to pack our theater so we can create demand, you know, we can continue to create demand. I mean, you're going to see an expansion of programming because you're going to see an expansion of spaces, you know, you're going to just be able to see the same amount of plays, but now you're going to have a variety of contexts by which to see them, you know, and that's terrific. But really, it's a business formula. It's not an art formula, but the business formula is really important, which is got to get more butts in the seats. As soon as you have more butts in the seats, you know, if we were at 88% capacity through October 31st, I'd be having a very serious conversation about our audience maybe wants to come see Christmas Carol. Let's do it. But we're not there. You know, when that happens, we'll move into November. You know, we'll move into December. There's one behind in the back too. No, go ahead, and then we'll pass it back.
Okay. If you could, which is harder, acting or directing, and if you could only do one and not the other, which would it be?
Yeah. I want to be an architect. You think I'm kidding? It's like my other passion. I can't answer it. Sorry. Can't answer it. I don't know. I mean, I would have told you 2 weeks ago I never want to act again. I've said it several times that I've wanted to remove myself from the stage more and more and not act. Well, I appreciate that. I do. But, you know, I'm drawn to being in rehearsal. That's what I love right now about the theater, is the process of the making. And once it's made, it's different for me. That changed somewhere along the line for me. But right now, I couldn't tell you. Sorry. You knew that.
What I'm wondering about is the process for Charley's Aunt. How quickly in rehearsal did you have to get it up on its feet? Because I know, like with Shakespeare and with these classical texts, we can spend so much time looking at the text and doing table work. But with a farce like this, it's so much physical that you have to just get it up and do the thing. So what was the rehearsal process like for that?
Good question. We did table work, actually, because without understanding what the stakes are for those boys, without understanding and getting a very clear sense about the construct of the chaperone and the need for the way money works in the play, who has the money, who doesn't have the money. All good farces, you should follow the money. But so we did spend time reading. We did 2 read-throughs. We did, you know, given circumstances, who's doing what. What's this deal with Spettague being a ward? Where are those parents? What's happening with Charley's backstory? This aunt that sponsored him, you know, I mean, we had all those conversations. And actually, I took longer than I usually do getting it on its feet. This script is 145 pages long. It's massive because there's tons of stage directions in it. So we used a lot of time just doing the first pass at staging it, and then didn't have as much time as I wanted to clean it up. That's happened in the last couple of weeks via, you know, just in secondary rehearsals and wherever we could find the time. But I also am the kind of director, and I think my cast would agree, that I'm constantly doing table work. When we're on our feet, we're also stopping to have conversations about, now, if you make that choice, which is fine, you can make it. I just want you to be aware of, it means this. And is that what we want to say? Yes? Great. Let's go forward. No, that's my instinct too, you know? You know, we had a lot of conversations about, I had a lot of conversations about in the staging of it, about stakes, about keeping stakes high, about keeping tension high, about the need for them their feeling about these girls to be palpable. Everyone's affected by love. Everyone has butterflies in their stomach at some point about a woman in this play or about a man in this play. You know, I mean, poor Fanny Babs is, you know, to start with, is a kind of different butterflies, like, you know, but he's in love with Ella, you know. So in order for the play to also have heart and not just the physical stuff, that stuff has to come to the surface. So, you know, it was an all-encompassing physical process, but also that had a lot of math involved as we went along, and still, frankly, still does. You know, I'm not noting that's not funny and it should be funny. I'm noting things like, you know, if that's more important to you, if that's the most important thing, that it's dear Kitty, it'll get a laugh. That specific word, you know? So those are the kinds of things we're having conversations about.
Okay, a final comment from anyone? Yes, right here.
I just would like to thanks David for directing that, because I think we need a really funny play. We need to laugh in our life, and we're not doing it as much as we used to. But thank you very much.
Bless you. I agree.
Yes.
It's a tough world right now. Michael Doherty. Yes, his eyes are that blue. Yeah. Did Brian cut my hair? No, why? Does he a hairdresser? So I have to get it cut again. It's my Salieri due.
On that note, hair cutting, blue eyes. David Ivers, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.